From the cold void above, we observe a blue and green orb suspended in darkness, spinning in the indifferent silence of space. It is radiant, alive, yet fragile, a living paradox. The humans populate this world, a species both maddeningly chaotic and profoundly resilient. They move across their cities with an energy that is almost violent in its intensity, lighting fires of technology that flare like constellations against the night. We watch their signals, their broadcasts slicing across the void, a chaotic symphony of sound and light. Their voices, human, irrational, and full of audacious defiance, reach us, carried on the thin threads of radio waves. There is no other species in our archives that vibrates with such raw, untamed energy. We, the observers, are both fascinated and unnerved. They are fragile in structure, fleeting in lifespan, yet their determination is palpable, almost infectious. Conflicts flare along their borders. Minor skirmishes, at first glance insignificant, ripple with consequence. And then, as if to crystallize their defiance for the cosmos itself, they send a message. Not a plea, not a demand, but a declaration. Stop attacking, or we stop pretending to be civilized. The phrase echoes across systems, simple yet horrifying in its clarity. We note the precision of its delivery. No rhetoric, no flourish, only raw intent distilled into action. Every defensive maneuver, every activation of their systems, every minor engagement we monitor pulses with a sense of purpose we cannot fully analyze. Willpower, courage, unyielding tenacity, these are the metrics they operate by, and yet they are beyond our comprehension. They fight not just to survive, but to assert themselves, to challenge the universe itself. Small ships launch from orbital stations, satellites flare with energy, signals flare across the electromagnetic spectrum like streaks of fire in the void. Each act is a whisper of warning, a hint of something monumental stirring within the species. Our calculations falter. Probabilities that once seemed reliable fracture under the weight of their unpredictability. These humans are rewriting the rules of engagement, bending them to their will in ways we had never recorded. There is no single leader, no uniform strategy visible from our distant observation points, yet coherence emerges from apparent chaos. It is terrifying and magnificent. We watch as their borders ignite with activity, patterns of defense, improvisation, and countermeasures spreading like fractal branches across the planet's surface. They are small, isolated, but their energy resonates outward, like ripples from a pebble cast into the void. Something within us shifts. The species we cataloged as fragile now pulses with authority, audacity, and defiance that cannot be ignored. And yet, as we peer deeper, a tremor passes through our instruments, a signal unrecognized, a sequence unpredicted. The humans are not merely responding, they are initiating.
A force, invisible but undeniable, begins to build, a crescendo that promises more than survival. Whatever comes next will not merely test them, it will test the universe itself. We record, we analyze, we tremble in awe. And then, a new broadcast flares across the spectrum, a transmission with no known pattern, no clear origin. Its tone is calm, terrifying in its restraint. The humans are preparing to speak again, not to negotiate, not to retreat, but to define the terms of existence for all who dare to watch. We wait, and the silence that follows is heavier than any weapon we have cataloged. The first incursions arrived like shadows sliding across their outer colonies, silent, precise, and unannounced. From our vantage in orbit, we anticipated a flurry of panic, a species scrambling in predictable patterns. But the humans? They did not panic. Instead, they moved as if chaos itself had become a language they spoke fluently. Ships, small and seemingly fragile, darted through the void, weaving erratically, yet with unmistakable intent. Missiles arced toward them, only to be met with maneuvers that defied every projection we had calculated. Improvisation turned into orchestration, instinct into strategy. For every attack, they countered, not with brute force alone, but with ingenuity that left our instruments struggling to keep pace. Their weapons were crude by our standards, often simple projectiles or modified energy beams, yet the precision with which they deployed them bordered on artistry. Entire fleets faltered before them. We observed commanders recalculating probabilities in real time,
only to realize the humans did not act according to probability. Fear sharpened their reflexes. Desperation fueled innovations that seemed born of intuition rather than logic. One vessel, cornered on a desolate asteroid, detonated its engines in a controlled implosion, sending a swarm of smaller drones spinning into enemy lines. A move so reckless that it should have been catastrophic, yet it was devastatingly effective. We, the observers, are forced to admit it. The human spirit manifests both as shield and weapon. Each act of resistance carries an energy that cannot be quantified, a raw presence that disorients us. Our algorithms falter, our expectations shatter. The humans do not merely react, they adapt, redefine, and anticipate without predictable patterns. Entire formations of our scout ships dissolved under the pressure of their ingenuity. Whispers of doubt began to ripple through the invading forces, subtle at first, then mounting into unease. They hesitate, they question, and all the while, the humans press forward. We observe humans above orbital stations coordinating defensive grids as if each was an extension of a single consciousness. Signals flash, seemingly nonsensical at first glance, then align into patterns of staggering complexity.
They divert enemy trajectories with seemingly minimal effort, each act choreographed with precision born from desperation. Small teams strike with surgical effectiveness, sacrificing themselves yet accomplishing more than any standard military protocol could predict. One colonist, barely 18 cycles of lifehold, manually rerouted a failing energy matrix, averting total annihilation of a regional hub. Alone, exposed, and terrified, yet executing a maneuver that shifted the battle's momentum. Across the battlefield, chaos is no longer random. The human's unpredictability becomes a weapon in itself. The invaders, relying on conventional tactics honed over millennia, find their formations splintering. A coordinated advance turns into disarray as each human act, improvised, emotional, yet precise, sows confusion among our ranks. The initial shock is amplified by their resolve. We detect fear, yes, but not paralysis. Fear sharpens their senses. It hones their awareness. It transforms instinct into deadly skill. Every strike, every counter, every seemingly reckless action carries weight. Entire fleets falter, retreat, or are obliterated under the relentless human surge. Observing the battlefield, it becomes clear that what we thought of as minor skirmishes are actually a complex dance of survival and assertion. They fight not just to defend territory, but to assert identity, presence, and will. This species, we realize, is rewriting the rules of engagement mid-conflict. And yet, their tactics are not without cost. Cities along the outer colonies blaze in response to initial attacks. Casualties mount, fires rage, signals of distress flare into the void. But even here we sense defiance. Humans do not flee, they endure. They innovate in the eye of destruction, turning vulnerability into opportunity. A collapsed bridge becomes a tactical barricade. A damaged shuttle is repurposed into an improvised weapon platform. They adapt faster than our surveillance can record, faster than our predictions can compute. We, the observers, are left in awe and alarm. The human's combination of emotion and precision challenges every assumption we've made about intelligent life. They are messy yet masterful, fragile yet unyielding. Probability falters, calculations fail. Entire campaigns that should have been routine become chaotic exercises in survival against a species whose resilience is unnatural. And as the battle unfolds, a chilling pattern emerges. The humans do not merely survive, they dictate the tempo, the rules, the narrative itself. The invaders' confidence erodes. Commanders glance nervously at one another across comlinks. Hesitation spreads. Doubt germinates. The humans are not just fighting, they are inspiring terror. The psychological landscape shifts even faster than the physical. By the end of the engagement, our perception of humans is irreversibly altered. No longer merely a planet to conquer, they are a force of nature, a living testament to the power of will and ingenuity. We catalog every maneuver, every improvisation, every moment of audacity, yet the full scope of their resilience remains beyond comprehension. Their presence reshapes the battlefield, the strategies, and even the minds of those who came to dominate them. And then it begins, a concentrated signal, pulsing across frequencies we cannot immediately decode. A warning? A declaration? Perhaps a call to rally the scattered human forces. Whatever it is, it carries a weight that reverberates across the void, a subtle yet undeniable promise of further escalation. We wait, uncertain, and the humans move again, faster, sharper, more unpredictable than ever. The first clash was only the beginning. From orbit, we observe the culmination of human resilience, a crescendo that reverberates across the void like a pulse of life itself. It begins not with a flare of violence, but with precision, an orchestrated signal across their communication networks, a web of light and sound that stretches beyond planetary orbit, beyond any conventional reach. There is urgency in its pattern, yet its tone is disquietly calm, measured, deliberate. Every frequency, every modulated pulse conveys something we cannot reduce to data. Humanity will not yield. This is not a plea, nor a challenge. It is a declaration, a boundary etched across the stars, warning any who would dare approach. Stop, or face the consequences of provoking a species whose resolve is unquantifiable. We, the observers, feel the weight of centuries compressed into a singular electrifying moment. Evolution, conflict, ingenuity, all converge here. The humans' history, their struggles, their survival instinct, manifests as a force that radiates outward, touching every satellite, every sensor, every ship in proximity. Entire fleets hesitate. Commanders glance at one another. Algorithms pause mid-calculation. The simplicity of the message belies the complexity behind it. These creatures, fragile by design, yet unbreakable in spirit, are issuing an ultimatum that reshapes the calculus of war itself. Their civilization, which had seemed vulnerable, now pulses with depths we cannot predict. Moral conviction and strategy are inseparable. Creativity is inseparable from courage, and together they form a weapon we cannot anticipate nor contain. As the transmission continues, the effect becomes visible across the battlefield. Ships falter, advanced formations splinter, fleet coordination falters under the invisible pressure radiating from the humans' resolve. Enemy captains whisper doubt into comm channels, their confidence eroding with every pulse of the human broadcast. We measure the effect, but measurements fall short. Probability fails. The humans' presence, their will, reshapes reality itself. On the planetary surface, humans do not merely transmit, they act.
Defensive networks flare with light, activating energy grids that arc like ribbons of fire across the horizon. Satellites pivot in unison, repurposed on the fly into interceptors and sensors. Small strike teams deploy, moving with an uncanny coordination that seems instinctive yet deliberate. From our distant vantage, the synchronized chaos appears almost artistic, terrifying in its precision. Every maneuver, every deployment, every pulse of light or sound becomes part of the message: we will not be broken. We notice moments of individual brilliance that defy expectation. One human, stationed on a remote orbital platform, manually reroutes multiple weapon systems in seconds, creating a cascading chain reaction that neutralizes a wing of invading ships. Another orchestrates an improvised electronic countermeasure, confusing enemy communications and forcing retreat. The impact of a single life, a single decision, ripples outward with consequences too large for our instruments to fully capture. Their ingenuity is relentless, adaptive, and breathtaking. Across the invader fleets, tension reaches a breaking point. Hesitation spreads like wildfire. Orders are delayed. Coordination falters. A strike group that had advanced confidently now drifts in uncertainty, their sensors overwhelmed by the humans' unpredictable and uncompromising defense. The broadcast continues, steady, unwavering, as if the humans themselves are conduits for the warning, their very presence a signal stronger than any weapon. The invaders cannot calculate it, they cannot predict it. And then, in a moment that seems suspended in time, the full measure of the humans' defiance crystallizes. The communication network, planetary defenses, orbital platforms, and individual operatives converge in a singular act of synchronized intensity. A pulse sweeps outward, subtle yet undeniable. We, the observers, recognize it immediately. This is not merely defense, this is a statement. Not aggression, not negotiation, but a boundary written in action, intent, and willpower. The result is instantaneous. Enemy lines wobble,
Advanced squadrons hesitate. Strategic positions falter. Surrender, a concept we had considered distant for this species, flickers in the minds of their adversaries. The humans' calm, precise defiance reverberates across the battlefield and into the cosmic neighborhood. Observing civilizations, even those that had dismissed humans as fragile, feel its resonance. This species, so young and seemingly delicate, has redefined what it means to project power. Yet there is no celebration on Earth. Humans do not exult, do not gloat. Their calm, terrifying in its restraint, persists. The pulse of their declaration continues, a reminder that their warning is not temporary. It is eternal until acknowledged, a constant boundary across the stars. We, the observers, struggle to translate its meaning into our own metrics. There is no precedent.
Every maneuver, every act of will, every calibrated decision in the human network communicates one undeniable truth. Underestimate them, and extinction becomes the inevitable cost. From orbit, we catalog the human ingenuity with awe bordering on terror. Crude weapons, repurposed materials, improvisational tactics, all combine into a system of defense so fluid, so adaptive, it defies traditional analysis. They anticipate, react, innovate, and execute in ways that suggest a consciousness spread across both individuals and collective effort. It is frightening, brilliant, and fundamentally alien in concept. We feel a tremor, not of matter, but of understanding. Humanity is no ordinary species. They are a force of nature. Their audacity, their resilience, and their courage leave indelible marks on the fabric of the battlefield. And yet, as we watch, the humans continue to push the boundaries further. Every signal, every action, every moment is calibrated to maintain the upper hand. Their determination is not reactive, it is proactive, preemptive, and monumental. And as we analyze, we detect the final subtle escalation, a message pulsing not just across frequencies, but across perception itself. Not words, not logic, but pure intent, transmitted with a force that defies our calculations. The invaders hesitate, falter, and the silence of space grows heavy with anticipation. Whatever comes next will not be a battle of numbers or technology or strategy. It will be a reckoning. And then the humans act again with a precision that leaves us dumbstruck. From our distant vantage, we watch the first coordinated counterstrike flare across the edge of the outer colonies. A small fleet moves in perfect symmetry, a series of maneuvers so unexpected that entire wings of the enemy scatter. The battlefield is transformed. The warning has not merely been issued, it is embodied in action, manifest in every pulse of light, every trajectory, every human decision. The signal continues to reverberate. The humans are no longer reacting to the universe, they are dictating terms. And the invaders, they pause, hesitate, wonder if conquest is possible at all. The warning has been sent, and yet, in the vast darkness, we sense it. The next move, coming not from fear, but from conviction. The humans are only beginning. Even after the humans' warning blazed across the void, a few factions pressed forward. Pride, miscalculation, arrogance. These were the traits that blinded them. They had studied the broadcasts, recorded the signals, cataloged the planetary defenses, yet none could predict what was coming. We, observers from the distance, anticipated hesitation, maybe retreat. Instead, we watched the folly of underestimation unfold, and it was breathtaking in its inevitability. From orbital vantage points, the battlefield appeared chaotic. Ships darting, energy beams flaring, cities glowing with defensive networks. But within that chaos lay a rhythm, an intelligence woven into every human action. They fought in ways that seemed reckless, almost naive, yet every maneuver was lethal. A shuttle veered into an advancing squadron, apparently on a collision course, only to detonate in a controlled cascade that incapacitated half the enemy fleet. Ground units appeared disorganized, yet ambushes were set with uncanny precision. Every disadvantage became a trap, every weakness a weapon. Their cities transformed into instruments of defense. Skyscrapers, once civilian centers, now bristled with adaptive weaponry. Roads, bridges, and tunnels became labyrinths for intruders. Energy grids pulsed in patterns that disoriented sensors, while smaller orbital satellites streamed continuous surveillance and support. Every surface, every structure, every human in motion contributed to a symphony of strategy, an improvisation that somehow adhered to principles of warfare no other species had demonstrated. We, the alien observers, recalculated endlessly. Our instruments, designed to predict and counter hostile tactics, failed again and again. The humans' unpredictability was not mere randomness, it was a lethal combination of instinct, intuition, and deliberate improvisation. Their decisions flowed from fear, yes, but also from a depth of ingenuity that could not be quantified. Each skirmish, each minor counterattack, echoed through the void with consequences disproportionate to its apparent scale. Enemy fleets, advancing under the assumption of superiority, faltered in the first minutes. Standard maneuvers failed, formations splintered. Algorithms that had once predicted victory now churned uselessly, unable to account for human adaptability. Even basic tactics were foiled. Humans, though small in number and fragile in appearance, reshaped the battlefield with every pulse of energy, every turn of a vehicle, every flaring response to attack. Their chaos was not disordered, it was controlled, choreographed, deadly. On the planetary surface, humans orchestrated countermeasures that combined creativity with audacity. Drone swarms emerged from urban districts, diverting enemy fire while advancing infantry used terrain that had been designed for civilian use to their advantage. A single building became a defensive stronghold, another collapsed in a controlled detonation, taking out enemy artillery while leaving civilians largely unharmed. Each act was a message: we are unpredictable, and we will adapt faster than you can anticipate. We observed entire human squads improvising in real time. One squad leader, a human barely reaching adulthood, redirected an energy beam intended for a nearby orbital satellite, turning it to create a temporary shield for a convoy of evacuating civilians.
Another, trapped in a corridor under fire, triggered a series of explosive containers, opening a path and simultaneously sabotaging advancing enemies. Every act combined courage, intuition, and lethal effectiveness. These were not isolated anomalies, they were manifestations of the species' collective ingenuity. The tension escalated further as human fleets began coordinating with orbital and surface units in ways that defied expectation. Sensors detected signals that seemed contradictory, yet converged into a coherent strategy minutes later. The humans moved like a living organism, decentralized yet synchronized, improvising tactics that turned desperation into advantage. Their enemies' confidence eroded, commands were delayed, hesitation spread. Even their most disciplined units began to doubt their projections. We, the alien observers, felt our sense of superiority crumble. Our calculations of probabilities, our assumptions about predictable behavior, all were upended by the humans' combination of emotion and precision. Every strike they made, every counter, every improvisation became a reminder: underestimate them, and extinction is the inevitable cost. Fear, once theoretical, became real as we watched the invaders falter against a species that should have been simple to overpower. What fascinated us most was the humans' willingness to take risks that should have been fatal. They threw themselves into the battle with reckless audacity, yet each act carried intention. Improvisation did not equate to chaos, it was a form of adaptive strategy that we could not model. Desperate maneuvers, intuitive attacks, and bold defenses intertwined into an emergent pattern that was simultaneously elegant and terrifying. Their resilience seemed limitless, their willpower a weapon beyond measurement. This struggle was no longer about territory or conquest. It had become a crucible, a stage upon which the humans defined themselves. Their actions communicated a message that resonated even beyond the immediate battlefield. We will not be contained. We will not be predicted. We will not be understood. Yet we will endure. Each new engagement became a statement of identity, a reaffirmation of their unique capacity for survival, innovation, and audacious courage. The stage was set for something more than a simple confrontation. What began as an incursion had become a trial of wills, a test of ingenuity and audacity, a demonstration of the human's ability to shape reality itself. As we monitored their movements, we sensed the first whispers of strategic genius, maneuvers that anticipate enemy responses before the enemy could conceive them. We recorded, we cataloged, yet our understanding remained incomplete. The humans had redefined conflict itself, transforming every act of defense into a ballet of strategy, instinct, and emotion. And then it came, a coordinated strike that shifted the balance across multiple fronts. Enemy ships attempting to regroup were ambushed simultaneously by orbital defenses, surface artillery, and adaptive drone swarms. Routes of retreat were blocked, reinforcements disrupted. Humans executed maneuvers that seemed impossible, turning their own perceived disadvantages into overwhelming force. Each engagement created ripples of disruption that spread like wildfire through the invaders' formations. We, the alien observers, realized the terrifying truth. Humanity was not simply resisting, they were dictating the terms of engagement. Their audacity, their ingenuity, and their unrelenting courage had become a force of nature, reshaping the battlefield and redefining the parameters of war itself. The invaders, previously confident in their superiority, now hesitated, unsure whether victory was even attainable. And yet, even as the humans press their advantage, the threat persists. We sense the next escalation building, an anticipation that radiates from both sides. Humans have proven their capacity to adapt, to innovate, to defy expectation. But the universe is vast, and the challenge is far from over. We wait, our sensors capturing every pulse, every maneuver, every flicker of light from a species that refuses to be contained. The stage is set for a confrontation that will decide more than territory. It will define the legacy of a species that challenges the very limits of understanding. And in the silence between battles, we sense the storm gathering. The humans are ready, and they will not relent. The void trembles with the weight of inevitability. From our distant vantage, the confrontation that had been escalating for cycles now reaches its zenith. The humans, once underestimated, now operate not merely as individuals, squads, or fleets, but as a cohesive force that defies comprehension. Entire battle formations collapse under maneuvers that seem almost prescient, anticipatory beyond anything we can model. Ships twist, pivot, and vanish from calculated trajectories, only to reappear in positions that exact maximum disruption. Their ingenuity borders on the mythical, a living strategy that evolves in real time, adapting to every threat with instinct and foresight. We, the observers, scramble to analyze, to predict, to understand, but understanding fails. Every calculation fractures under the weight of human audacity. Their defiance is not mindless, it is precise, emotional, and profoundly human. We detect fear, but it does not paralyze them. It sharpens reflexes, ignites intuition, fuels courage. Every strike, every countermeasure, every calculated sacrifice ripples across the battlefield with a weight that reverberates beyond the immediate engagement. What we once thought of as chaotic now reveals a terrifying symmetry. Chaos governed by the principles of ingenuity, adaptability, and raw will. Human ingenuity manifests in moments both monumental and intimate.
A fleet cornered in a debris field improvises kinetic shields from the remnants of destroyed vessels, turning hazards into weapons that decimate enemy wings. On the planetary surface, engineers manipulate failing energy grids to create cascading explosions that intercept orbital strikes while preserving critical civilian infrastructure. A single young human exposed on a surface ridge manually recalibrates defensive turrets to intercept a descending squadron, buying time for evacuation corridors that no algorithm could have predicted. Each act, small in isolation, coalesces into a larger pattern, a symphony of tactical brilliance that overwhelms the invader's calculations. The invader's confidence shatters, commands falter, coordinated advances dissolve into disarray. Fleets retreat to avoid annihilation, yet retreat is often met with another layer of human ingenuity: ambushes, traps, adaptive defenses. The battlefield itself becomes a reflection of the human mind, unpredictable, creative, unyielding. Observing this, we realize the terrifying truth. Humanity is no longer playing defense. They are dictating the terms of war itself. And yet, their strategy is not merely technical, it is emotional. Humans display empathy alongside ruthlessness. We observe soldiers risking themselves not only to destroy the enemy, but to save comrades, civilians, and even stranded invaders. Every act of courage carries emotional resonance, altering the calculus of engagement in ways no machine, no algorithm can replicate. It is brutal and beautiful, a fusion of intellect and instinct that leaves us scrambling to comprehend the scale of their capability. As the confrontation escalates, humans execute maneuvers that defy prediction. Fleets split and converge with perfect timing, exploiting weaknesses no sensor could detect. Strike teams on the ground improvise complex traps from environmental features, turning disadvantages into overwhelming advantage. Entire waves of enemy assault falter before strategies conceived in seconds, executed with precision born of desperation and genius. Every human decision resonates outward, reshaping the battlefield and forcing the invaders to reconsider every assumption. We alien observers are forced to confront the full spectrum of humanity. Cunning, resilience, empathy, ruthlessness all coalesce into a force that is both terrifying and magnificent. Entire enemy wings are annihilated not by brute force alone, but by the human's ability to anticipate, adapt, and exploit. Retreating fleets become mired in traps, advancing forces are funneled into tactical dead ends, and commanders hesitate where certainty once reigned. The humans have become architects of the battlefield itself, a species that transforms conflict into a living, breathing extension of their ingenuity. Civilizations across the stars will record this engagement. Observers like us cannot ignore the message etched across space. Humans do not merely survive, they dominate the narrative.
They redefine the concept of power, forcing us to reconsider what it means to control, to influence, to conquer. Even as fleets crumble, the humans' presence resonates beyond mere military success. Their ingenuity, bravery, and unyielding spirit communicate a force of nature, one that no calculation can contain. And yet, in the midst of their triumph, humans do not celebrate. There is no arrogance, no taunting. Each victory is measured, precise, deliberate. They preserve infrastructure, protect civilians, and coordinate rescues even while striking decisive blows against the enemy. Their morality, strategy, and ingenuity intertwine, producing a force that is simultaneously compassionate and deadly, calculated and instinctive. As the climax reaches its apex, the battlefield transforms entirely. The humans' movements dictate every engagement. Enemy morale collapses, formations disintegrate, retreating ships are intercepted with pinpoint efficiency. Resistance dissolves under the relentless precision of improvisation, courage, and foresight. We, observing, feel awe and fear. For the first time, we recognize that humans are not just resilient, they are a species that reshapes reality itself through will and intellect. And then comes the final orchestration. Orbital fleets, planetary defenses, and mobile strike teams converge in a synchronized crescendo. Every maneuver, every strike, every act of improvisation aligns with the humans' collective intent. A single wave shatters the remaining enemy front, forcing surrender or annihilation. The battlefield, once chaotic and unpredictable, now stands as a testament to the humans' indomitable will. Civilization itself is redefined, not through technology alone, but through courage, ingenuity, and the unshakable human spirit. By the end, the humans do not merely survive, they dominate. They redefine the rules of engagement. They force observers, invaders, and distant civilizations alike to reconsider the very nature of power, strategy, and existence. And as silence falls across the battlefield, the humans do not rest. They prepare, vigilant, adaptive, aware that the universe is vast and the challenges are endless. Their reckoning has reshaped the cosmos's understanding of life, will, and the extraordinary potential of a species that refuses to be constrained. The human story is far from over, and the universe watches, knowing that it will never forget. The silence that followed was profound. Where once fleets clashed and cities blazed, only echoes remained. Space itself seemed to hold its breath. From orbit, we watched human civilization standing, battered but unbroken, a testament to endurance that no calculation could predict. The scars of battle traced across their cities, yet the glow of lights in their urban centers signaled life, determination, and an unwavering will to continue.
Humanity had endured, not merely surviving the onslaught, but transforming every attack into evidence of their resilience. We, the alien observers, catalogued each event meticulously, recording maneuvers, improvisations, and acts of courage. Yet for all the data we collected, awe overshadowed analysis. The humans' victory was not merely technical or strategic, it was moral, emotional, and profound. Survival, we realized, was not a question of biology alone. It was the embodiment of creativity, courage, and unyielding will. They had not merely repelled the invaders, they had redefined what it meant to endure, to adapt, and to assert existence against impossible odds. Across the cosmos, the resonance of their defense began to spread. We observed distant civilizations intercepting fragments of their communications, interpreting the audacity of humanity as a paradigm-shifting signal. Strategies once considered reliable were now questioned. Records of human improvisation, cunning, and resilience circulated through interstellar channels, shaping perception, strategy, and caution among countless species. A ripple, subtle but persistent, extended outward from Earth, carrying the message, "Underestimate this species at your peril." On the ground, humans tended to the wounded, rebuilt the damaged infrastructure, and honored those lost. Their compassion, even amidst devastation, was inseparable from their effectiveness in defense. Courage and empathy intertwined with ingenuity, creating a civilization that thrived not just because of raw power, but because of the cohesion of will, intellect, and morality. Observing them, we realized that what we had witnessed was more than survival.
It was a declaration of what it means to be fully, profoundly human. Even from our distant perch, we felt the weight of this truth. The human's victory left an imprint on our calculations, on our understanding of intelligent life, and on the assumptions we had long held about resilience, adaptability, and courage. This planet, once catalogued as fragile and inconsequential, had become a beacon of inspiration, not just for us, but for every sentient observer capable of comprehending their triumph. As the final energies of the battlefield faded into the void, the humans did not rest on their laurels. Systems were repaired, fleets resupplied, and communication networks reinforced. Yet there was something deeper, an awareness, a consciousness that they had proven their capacity to survive, to adapt, and to assert their existence in ways no other species had. Their presence now radiated beyond the planet, into the fabric of interstellar consciousness. We leave the planet altered, not merely in the data we archive, but in understanding. Humans are small, fragile, and yet astonishingly formidable. They have demonstrated that even the most underestimated species can force the universe itself to pause, to observe, and to reckon with its existence.
The echoes of their triumph extend far beyond their homeworld, a lasting testament to ingenuity, courage, and unyielding will. And in that silence, that vast expanse of post-battle calm, one truth crystallizes clearly across all observation channels. Humanity is not just a species, they are a force, a story of resilience and defiance that will be remembered wherever sentient life dares to watch. The stars themselves seem to pulse in recognition. Humanity has endured. Humanity has prevailed. Humanity has redefined existence itself.